Hello, Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and welcome to a roundtable for the game called Nether. Hello, everybody who's joined the Google Hangout. How y'all doing today?
Hello!
Hola.
Streaming Canadian and the Yeti. You know, Furry Yeti and the Streaming Canadian. Do you guys neighbors?
Are we neighbors?
No.
That was a joke. Okay, so anyway, this is our first roundtable after actually having played the game. And for those of you who are wondering how we got to play the game, well, we've been part of a group to provide some content ahead of time, YouTube videos, and there may be some streaming that happens beforehand for the game of Nether. And it's going pretty good so far. So, guys, let me ask you here, what are your first impressions of the game?
I'll go ahead. I actually really do like the for it being an alpha build. The first thing that hit me right away was the graphics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not a lot of games that are out there that even look that good as a full release compared to what's out there right now. I think it looks really well done. And what really intrigued me the most was the water physics in the game. The water looks immaculate, in my opinion. Again, just my opinion. So.
Yeah, and I noticed that you actually cause ripples everywhere you go.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
It's not just you're walking in water; it's you are having an effect on the water. So,
and I'm kind of wondering if they're gonna, because I know that the Nether has a hard time of seeing, but it's very good with sound. So I'm wondering if they're gonna implement that into the game with, if they hear the water moving or something like that, if that's gonna attract them or not. I know I said that in one of my videos. I was talking about that. And I think Saint was also talking about that in one of his videos as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the water physics and all the other type of physics that they have in the game right now. So
I know they're doing loud things like jumping or falling off a building, or I've noticed several people have accidentally fallen off the fire escapes. I'm not mentioning Saint at all.
Yes, the jump that they do, they actually really do hear like everything that you do. Like, I mean, if this is one of those games that you really have to be, conscious of when you want to make noise and when you don't want to make noise. It's interesting.
Yeah, so just like some of the other survival games, if you crouch or if you crawl, you reduce the amount of sound and visibility you have, and so you can get quite close to the Nether. But they can still notice you. And now, Yeti, have you spent much time actually fighting the Nether yet?
Yes. They can be annoying if there's a lot of them, and if you have nowhere to run. If you're stuck in a corner, forget it. Goodbye, Charlie. You're done.
And have you found any good guns to just mow them down, or?
There's a certain part of the map I'm not gonna tell anybody because I kind of want to keep that to myself.
Oh, secrets already.
But there's a drop spot, like a loot spawn, and you can get a sniper. But there's a pretty big Nether that just sits there and guards it. But I've had a couple of snipers. I've been able to find actually quite a bit of guns. But that's considering there's like maybe 5-6 people playing when I was on. So it's gonna be a lot tougher when there's more people. That's for sure.
Well, and also I understand that there's some technology in the background on this that also makes it tougher when you're on your own. And what I mean by that is that it's my understanding that when the Nether don't detect a presence of other people around, they're not hearing things coming from different locations or whatnot, they start to become hypersensitive. And so if you are the only one there, they'll become very hypersensitive to you, and it may be very difficult to survive. And so, like the loot spot that you talk about that might be really good may also be in an area where players don't normally go, and so you're a much bigger target going through there. Maybe they're hungrier. I don't know. Do they
Well,
eat?
it was definitely a challenge to get to the loot spawn, for sure. So you know that there's going to be difficulties, which is good because it kind of prevents the whole farming aspect. You can't just go on an empty server and run around and be like, oh, I'm just going to farm everything, because it's more of a challenge because the Nether are more active and they're actually spawning closer to you because you're the only one there.
So, Saint, now, how's melee in the game?
I enjoyed it. I think it's very fluid right now. As far as when you click, you have an animation where you swipe to the side, you swipe upward. I actually had the whole time I was playing, I actually just played with melee. I didn't even pick up a gun, and I did that for two parts. One, because I couldn't find a gun, and two, because I wanted to see how it would be playing just straight fresh, not knowing anything about the game. Just like if it was like my first time in the game, I never heard about the game. I wanted to just play it out like that and see how it went.
Not
One
really
thing
having goals, just kind of adventure around
Yeah.
and survive.
Yeah, just blind, just walking around, see what I can find, and kind of do it that way. One thing I really enjoyed was how hard it was once you make a mistake. And what I mean by that is in other games like DayZ, WarZ, and I'm going to use these a lot when I compare because it is a survival game. If you got caught by zombies in these games, it was very easy to lose them. For example, in DayZ, you would just run into a house and they all slow down in the house. Or in WarZ, you just lose line of sight of them, and you sooner or later can just jump over a wall or something and you lose them. In this game, one starts chasing you, two start chasing you, three start chasing you, you're screwed. And that was very enjoyable to watch because you had to be very and I mentioned it in my video. You have to be very aware of your surroundings when you're going to loot because you can easily turn from bad to worse very fast.
Yeah, and they surprise the crap out of you.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of the really interesting things is that you might think you're okay, and you might have your back to a corner, let's say, and you can start moving forward, but it's possible that a Nether could appear behind you.
And that's that scream. That scream, oh my god. That freaks me out every time. when the Nether scream, I don't know if it's just me. I know Saint, you have some fun with that, but man, it catches you off guard almost every time.
Yeah,
I
the
can
the screams are
see
pretty
you
cool.
screaming.
Man, it's ridiculous. It's probably me that's doing it, to be honest, but it's crazy.
So we've got several people. Oh yes. So those of you watching live, the game is not under the right title, and the reason is Nether is not listed yet on Twitch. Once it's and this is just the closest that I could get. It wasn't actually available to choose. So, and there's I see a lot of questions here coming up in chat. Something that I should say right off the bat is that one of the rumors going around is that the game is made by Hammerpoint, and that is false. It is not made by Hammerpoint. It is not made by the same people as who've made WarZ Infestation. It does have a few similarities. I imagine that's because it is a survival game. But also, anyway, the teams are completely different. And so those of you who have, a less than desirable experience with Infestation or WarZ, don't worry. This is a different team. So, anyway,
My Google Hangout is actually messing up, but hopefully it doesn't mess up when I say this. I want everybody is going to compare every survival game and every zombie game unfortunately, they are going to compare it to War Z and DayZ, and that's just the way it is. And just like you said, I mean, this game has got nothing to do with Hammerpoint, period. Nothing associated with it. So hopefully we can squash the rumors today. That's the case. And I know that people are in the chat. I saw before we actually went live here is that people were saying, oh, this is just another Hammerpoint game. It's going to be yada, 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 this, that, and everything, another money grab type thing or whatever the situation may be. But, you know, it's not. So, yeah.
Yeti, have you noticed any similarities in the game from the other games?
Well, you know, it's a survival game, right? It's the same genre, so you're gonna get the similarities where you're looking for loot, you're trying to find the loot, all these things. So of course there's gonna be similarities, but they're all different in their own aspect. So, you know, it's the genre. It's like, you know, all the football games. Oh, well, this is like Madden, or this is like that, or, well, it's the same genre. Of course you're gonna have similarities. It's just normal if you're in the same style of game.
Right. Steve, how are you feeling about the game?
Me, Steve, or a different Steve?
Well, you're Steve, right?
Oh, then I'm loving it. I'm sorry, I'm driving right now as well. I wanted to be in on
Oh,
this.
you're driving while in a hangout. How technologically cool is that?
Oh yeah, of course. But from what I've seen, the Nether game is incredible. Like even the stat points. I know that Yeti was complaining when I was playing with him about how the scope of the sniper was incredibly shaky. It's because he didn't level up the skill in the gun tree. And one thing that I don't think that a lot of people focused on is how you can actually build your character to be something that's really unique, and you're going to want to keep them alive. You're not going to jump out and go all PvP. You're going to want to actually try to survive on that character.
This does have a skill building element to it, which I think that in the initial videos that we've seen, it's not completed, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the gameplay that we've done so far is on like template characters that we're able to connect in with and use them, but it doesn't save anything, and so I don't think that it's intended to remain that way. I think it's just that we're in really like pre-alpha, and it's it's amazing we got in at all, actually, and but it's coming along very nicely now. So, and I do think that we are going to see inventory system and character development and everything. Hopefully, it takes a long time to get your character all the way developed. I know the first couple of levels, I just hit them bam, bam, bam. But just like in any other game where you advance in levels, you hit the first ones initially pretty quickly. So, Saint.
Yes, sir.
What do you have to say about the similarities in the game to DayZ and War Z? Would you say that would it be a fair statement to say that the best features of these other games are the ones that we're seeing in here that have made it in, or are they just copying bad things in the game?
Well, from my understanding of playing the game for however long we had, when I was playing the game, I felt a similarity to War Z, as in it didn't feel like a simulation, where DayZ feels more like a simulation. Like as soon as like when you shoot a gun or anything like that. I didn't shoot a gun personally. I saw people shooting the guns. I used a melee. I fought the Nether. It felt more fluid, as in War Z, where it felt a little
War Z is
faster paced.
arcade.
Or Infestation, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It felt a little more fast paced with the action and combat, as in where DayZ, you can sit there in a firefight for 20 minutes hiding within trees, trying to get an angle on somebody and take them out. In that aspect. What I did like about Nether is, I'm going to go back to that, is saying that it was hard and it felt more survival. It didn't feel like I just got dropped into a world. I find the nearest gun in like a pharmacy, and I just go out and hunt people and rinse and repeat. I felt like I needed to work for my loot. I needed to search for my loot. I needed to make sure I'm aware of everything around me and not, get jumped by a bunch of nether while doing so. I didn't personally get to do any of the like mission-based stuff that they have, because I know some of like the safe zones and whatnot would get overran. You would have to take it back. I'm looking forward into getting into that, but in that aspect, I feel like that's where they take it another step beyond what DayZ and Infestation are doing, where they're putting more sense into the environment and you being aware of the environment and having, your hand in altering that environment by taking over a safe zone again to make it safe. So I'm looking forward.
That is one thing that's different, most definitely. And it not only causes us to have to cooperate together, but it also puts a lot of people in close quarters, so they're very vulnerable to each other. It sets up a whole conflict. Like, do you go and help so that the safe zone can be secured? Do you risk your life? And once the safe zone is secured, do you turn around and shoot your neighbor?
Now, I will say this, because you probably heard me do a lot of positive, and I'm like I said, I've always been true to what I believe in. One thing I don't agree with that they're bringing over is the whole GI and transaction thing. Even though they can use the example that, yeah, there's nothing broken in there as far as guns and stuff like that, it still creates an economy within the game that encourages hackers. No matter what. That's just the bottom line. If there's a GI in the game and there's an inventory that I can bank my stuff, hackers are going to use that to their own personal gain, to sell guns and stuff or sell whatever through their own means of trading or whatever. So I don't agree with that part.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't agree with the GI either. It completely takes away from the whole survival aspect, because somebody can just farm and farm and farm and farm and farm, and then they have this massive GI where they can just PvP and PvP, and it's going to come to that after a certain point.
So that's okay. So that happens right now with Infestation. People have farmed the hell out of things and just have this huge amount of stuff. And then there is a buying and selling and trading economy that's happened outside of the game. I think that's one thing that I like about Infestation. At the same time, I think that it impacts good gameplay. This whole feeling that you're talking about, Saint, with it being new, having to survive, just having to worry about having your own resources and everything to depend on. You have to make the best of what you've got right in front of you. Do you think it's possible to keep that feeling and them still have some sort of transactions that would be considered cosmetic?
Yeah. I don't think anything in the game, if they're selling microtransactions, should be anything that alters your gameplay. It should be purely cosmetic. League of Legends does it. It works wonderfully.
So League of Legends, it's like outfits and characters, right?
Exactly. Different skins, different gear. Now, that's to say, like, I understand it's a full loot game, so if it is cosmetics only, maybe the cosmetic gear or maybe cosmetic slots on your character aren't lootable because you paid real money for them. But that doesn't affect your gameplay. It doesn't affect the environment that you're in. It doesn't give me an advantage over the next player. I'm just looking cool.
Yeah, but are you going to wear that construction orange vest that you just bought?
Let me tell you this. Counter-Strike's a great example of this, because Counter-Strike had this big update with gun skins. And like different types of skins, and you have a chance of getting them when you went around and you buy keys in the store to open these cases. They've created such a market just off of that people play just literally to get gun skins now. They don't even care about playing competitively. And it grew their community tremendously just from doing these cosmetic things. And I think if Nether took note of this and tried to implement something like this in the game, I would love to have a custom QMG Saint gun in the game, or just something along the lines of that, where I can make my gun look pretty cool.
Or QMG Saint Twinkies.
Nah, screw that.
That's never happened before.
Nah.
Yeah.
Anyways, but like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they should work more towards the cosmetic side of things because people like to look cool in games. Let's just be honest. That's why you play WoW.
So I could have a really cool hat. What about things like bandages? Is that cosmetic?
It's an advantage. Somebody who's willing to spend the money can buy bandages and med kits and stuff like that to keep themselves alive. So you're gaining an advantage over somebody who either doesn't want to spend the money or doesn't have the money to spend. You're giving that person an advantage by having those med kits and stuff to heal themselves if they ever get into a PvP situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it should be cosmetic only, nothing that will give you an advantage over another player.
And what about if we looked at it another way, like how EVE Online does it, where the players can put money into the system to buy things, but then what they buy comes from other players. So if another player went out there and farmed a whole bunch of bandages, let's say, and then offered them on the marketplace for sale for, whatever, for real dollars that go into the company, but then what they get in exchange is the currency in the game that would allow them to buy their weapon skins and stuff like that. And so it is an exchange that happens in the game. It allows people who, like myself, I don't care what kind of weapon skin I have, unless it's like black where you can't see it. And, I just want to be as stealthy as possible. I'm not going to go out there wearing no purple fedora and, sporting a construction orange vest. I want to be less seen, especially in an environment where there's PvP. But at the same time, myself so much, I wouldn't mind being able to buy some bandages, but maybe I should buy them from the players, and then the players can take that money and then use that for their cosmetics. I don't know.
But then, would you be able to sell guns also, or is it only?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. That's you know what? That's a really good point, because what's the difference between a bandage and a gun? I mean, they're both objects in the game. They both have value.
I want to
Yeah, that might not be so good.
I want to just take a quick moment to reflect on what people are saying in chat.
Okay.
This weekend we had a video that came out by Sci Syndicate. It said, "Is this War Z 2.0?"
Right.
And then he reflects on similarities between the two games. Now, I know for one, Sci Syndicate's a big advocate towards DayZ. He plays mostly DayZ. He probably dabbled in War Z, but he hasn't played War Z like some of us have, where we played it religiously for 5-6 months at a time. I'd just like to point out that there's not much wrong with War Z when you get past the bad development. The game is great. What the issues with War Z had from the beginning is that the transparency with them and the consumer was horrible. They had a lot of promises that they did not bring up and they did not follow through with. And on top of that, they tried to push their play-to-win model or their microtransaction model too far, and that's what alienated the consumer. If Nether is similar to War Z in that aspect and they go down the same road, then yes, Nether's going to be bad and nobody's going to want to play it. But if Nether learns from the mistakes,
if they were able to replicate that success, but have a big compassion or big component that really focuses on the customer, the player, and what's good for the players,
then you have a winner.
That's a winning combination.
That is a winning combination. Now that's the issue that people don't really understand, and that's they're quick to write off Nether when they see the similarities, because of that. But if Nether learns anything from what War Z did mistakenly do, then if they can correct those mistakes, I don't see there being anything wrong with the similarities between the two, because War Z is a fun game when you get past all the bullshit.
Now, okay, so he said that he thought maybe Nether was War Z 2.0. Well, is War Z 2.0 great developer support, an awesome customer service, and a great game experience with graphics that look better and no zombies?
So then is it really War Z 2.0?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying, because a lot of the things that we really love about War Z Infestation are here in Nether, and they have a chance to really get this right.
Well, I'll tell you just off the top of like just for me personally, the moment I stopped enjoying War Z was the moment that they catered more to the PvP aspect and less survival. And once they admitted this on a round table that we had, I was done with it pretty much. When we had Artemis and all those people, or I think it was just Artemis, we had Artemis in Russian, and Artemis literally said that the game has evolved because of the players, and so there's less focus on survival. I was done.
That
Because
is one thing that I
that's
noticed.
not.
It was
Yeah.
more about hoarding and collecting.
It wasn't. They took everything that they wanted out of the game. And this isn't even on topic with Nether, but what I'm just saying is that if Nether has more of the survival aspect, I think they're going in the right direction because people want that survival aspect. People love Stalker, the Stalker series. People love, DayZ because of the survival aspect. They need a balance. You can't just pick and choose one side of the double-edged sword. You have to have the PvP with the survival aspect, I think, to have a great survival game.
It's finding that balance between like you said, survival and the PvP. And in my opinion, having a GI completely takes away this. And that's one of the reasons why I love DZ so much. Is you spawn in, you can't spawn in with anything. You gotta go and find it. So it really gives you that survival aspect. But then again, you also have the threat of PvP. So there's the balance between both, and it's just the type of game where you can jump in, fresh character, meet another guy, fresh character, and be like, yo, dude, if we don't stick together, we might both die. So it kind of also gets that community growth as well, where if you have a GI, you're always spawning in with a gun, you're just going to try and shoot everybody.
I mean, and that's fun too in its own sense, but it gets tiring. And I think being repetitive like that is going to hurt a game, especially coming out at launch.
I know that when everybody else has a gun and I don't, that's when it gets the roughest. Now, if I always have a gun, then it's a little bit better. But I want the complexity of a whole bunch of different types of weapons and everything, so that we can really mix things up and really go against each other, whether that's for surviving or whether that's PvP. And at the same time, I know that I would be 100% for not having any global inventory, or some sort of modified global inventory where really there's only a few spots in it. And if I want more spots, maybe that's an opportunity for them to, sell, more space in there, or whatnot. Will it create a direct advantage? No, but if I have 10 slots and I can buy another 10 for another $20-$30, maybe I would do that. And should stuff be stackable? Maybe stuff like bandages and ammo, but not guns. It should be hard. It should be hard. I actually think that there should be a lot more melee going on than in previous games I've played, and that bullets are very rare. And so when you're taking a shot, you're taking one because it's the last resort, or because you have taken the time and you've dialed right in and you're going to get a kill for that one shot.
With ammo being so scarce, that means it shouldn't be on the marketplace. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know what all is going to be on the marketplace yet. I know there's going to be some sort of marketplace, but I just don't know what all is going to be there, other than they've said it'll just be cosmetic items. But unfortunately, that's up to interpretation on what is cosmetic and what is not. There's a lot of stuff that gets into gray area. I've seen people touting that bandages are cosmetic. Well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I tend to lean that they aren't, but
Well, it gives you an advantage. Cosmetic is something that doesn't affect gameplay. So anything that affects gameplay, so healing yourself, that's not cosmetic, because it's giving you an advantage over another player who might not spend the money to buy a medkit. So you might be in a gunfight and you decide to heal up, and you went from almost being dead to half health, and this guy has nothing to heal himself with. Well, you have an advantage.
Mm-hmm. Is buying more slots in your global inventory? Does that cross the line of cosmetics?
It depends if it's you're only allowed to expand it one time, or if you have an infinite amount that you can expand it. There's limitations that need to be set. I'm a firm believer that a GI is a no-go. That's my personal opinion, because it removes the whole survival aspect. It just everybody's like, oh, let me go store all these guns, and then those guns are never seen again. So if there is a GI, it should be limited space. It should be capped, and so yeah, you can farm some stuff and store some items that you want to keep, but no insane amount like there is in Infestation.
What if they actually separated the global inventory into like multiple safe zones, so you actually had to travel to whichever one you left off at, or whichever one you left that gun at?
Kind of like a lockbox.
Yeah, like a lockbox, but in a safe area that could or could not be filled with nether when you arrive. Because if you spawn in and there's nether, that safe zone is overrun, you have an hour that you have to defend yourself with that knife.
Yeah, or lay down and shut up and keep quiet.
Exactly.
What stops me of having an extra character just sitting in that safe zone?
Well, okay, so that's a very good point, and that is something that people can do. That people can do regardless in any game. If a character is able to hold something and characters are able to transfer things between each other, then maybe characters become the bank boxes. You just put a big backpack on them, put them someplace safe, and you log them in whenever you need the stuff that they're holding. I did that in Ultima Online all the time. Each character had their own bank box, and we would just stuff it completely full of stuff. And then we'd just go on to the next character and everything when we ran out of space.
And when World of Warcraft had their gold cap, you would probably keep it across multiple characters just to make sure you didn't have to put in the guild bank or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, these are all very good points. I think a lot of this, hopefully, the devs were invited to come today, but it was not very likely that they were actually going to make it, and they haven't. They are busy trying to get things ready for launch. By the way, it launches in 7 days? October
beta,
31st. So it launches on Halloween, and so we're going to be in there this time next week. Oh shit! Are we going to do a roundtable, or are we just going to play?
Let's just play.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think we should stop and do a roundtable. I'm going to stop and do a roundtable, and then I'll go back to killing all of you who are still in the game. You'll be all worn out by that point, and I'll be refreshed because I'll have been out of the game for an hour. You're not buying it, are you?
No, we know that's not gonna happen. I'm just saying.
So, okay, I want to ask all three of you this: if anything was possible in Nether, and from what you've seen in it so far, what would be the one thing that you would add to the game or change that that would make just a huge difference for you? Whoever wants to go first.
Wipe the marketplace.
No marketplace.
No marketplace whatsoever.
Okay.
I'd have to agree. Wipe the marketplace. And if they want to have a marketplace, cosmetic only, gun skins, clothing, whatever, that's fine by me. But having bandages and food and supplies and all that stuff just surpasses what I expect of a survival game. And basically limited GI. If they want to keep a GI, fine, limited GI. But I would just get rid of the GI completely.
How about you, Poxy? He's driving and unavailable, I guess. So,
And I'm sure the Nether team or somebody from Nether is gonna watch the roundtable because they've already
absolutely.
said how they're gonna be really involved with the community. And I just want to say like, hey, this is your community speaking right now. Listen, like, because a lot of games say that they say, yeah, we're about the community, but business always comes first. And I'm a firm believer. If you listen to the people that are gonna play your game, you're gonna make more money at the end of the day. And I think if Nether does pull the approach, it doesn't have to be as drastic as we're proposing here with getting rid of the marketplace, but maybe focusing more on the cosmetic side of things. I think at the end of the day, they're gonna enjoy the results.
If you build it, they will come.
Field of Dreams. So, you know what? Having played other games that I won't mention, and having the whole item farming and collecting and hoarding and everything, you know, I would definitely be for a very limited GI, and you know, so many gun slots, something like that. Maybe for cosmetic items, that every cosmetic item that you buy or whatnot automatically adds a slot, and that slot is deemed cosmetic, or cosmetic items have unlimited capacity. But the you know, slots for guns, for ammo, for all of that stuff, keep it really limited. That'll force a couple of things. One is that it won't leave you completely defenseless if you work really hard at finding the good stuff. But at the same time, it'll force you to focus and really think about your strategy of how you play. You know, are you going to spend all of your inventory on collecting bandages, or being stealth, as opposed to trying to make your inventory all sniper rifles and sniper ammo, and just don't give a crap about anything else. And if it's small, it'll force us to choose and to think maybe a lot more competitively. It's not the one with the most toys wins. It's the one with the best strategy wins. And I'd rather play against a good strategist than somebody who's a good farmer. Do I hear an amen?
I agree, and something I don't want to. I want to see the whole, like, you spawn randomly on the map. Unless you're on that same server, you spawn randomly on the map, because then you can't just be like, oh, all right, guys, let's just do PvP in Clearview all day and have 5 guys sitting out Clearview, and you might go in and you kill them once, but then they're coming back in, and then they're coming back in, and then they're coming back in. I want random spawns.
Is the map? Have any of you tried running all the way across the map yet?
I did, and I couldn't survive.
You couldn't survive. Okay.
No, I mean, there comes a point where I just got tired of crawling around. I was like, let's just do this, and I sprint. And the moment I sprint, 3 Nether are just like surprise butt sex me, and I was done.
Hey, there's something that's just posted in chat. He says he lost the link, but there's a story about Hammerpoint made a copyright for Nether. I want to tell you guys what that is. I saw that link. It happens that Nether and Infestation both used, along with some other games, both used the same lawyer to submit for their trademarks, and they are not owned by the same people. It is very clear that it is different owners. The only commonality is that they used the same attorney, and that attorney may specialize in this kind of stuff, and that may be why why they show up together in that. So it's just like some of the trademarks that I own also show up with another company that makes houseboats, and stuff. I am not related to those houseboats at all.
Yeah,
So-
but also what I think Nether needs to do at this point is, before their
Kick
game
ass.
even launches, they need to announce. Somebody needs to come on and be like, yo, we are not affiliated with Hammerpoint. Because we can sit here and say it all we want, but we don't represent the company.
No, we
We
don't.
can say whatever. I could say that I work for Bill Gates. Like, that doesn't mean it's true. That doesn't mean anybody's going to believe me.
Yeah.
So they need to come out and be like, yo, this stuff about hammer point, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Put it down and just leave it out there. If the company takes an approach with just leaving it all out on the table and not hide stuff, that's already a step in the right direction, better than what hammer point did.
Yeah, I think that we didn't come back around. I got your two great things for the game. I didn't give mine, and I want to give mine, and I just want great customer support. Because great customer support equals being heard and being given what I need and want to have a great game experience. And so that's I just wanted to add that in there. That's something that some other companies have not found the right formula on yet, and a chance for Nether to really shine. So. Okay, we are pretty much out of time. Any final comments?
See you guys in game.
Yeah, next week, this time, we're going to be in game. So, well, unless they schedule the launch of the game to start like right after the show, because all they just said was the 31st. They didn't say what time. So,
Now you're hoping for a lot there.
hey, I'm just when it opens, I'm going to be there. If it's at midnight, I'm going to be one tired ass guy doing the show next Thursday because I will be there at midnight. Okay. Thanks, guys, for joining the show, and thank you everybody who's here watching live and all of your comments in chat. So next week we're going to be in game. I look forward to seeing you there. PlayNether.com. You can find it there, and also if you're watching the video, link in the description. So take care, everybody. Thank you.